So we've begun recording. Messi, I think maybe we can start.
Yes, no problem.
So can you share your screen so that we can begin? Awesome, guys. We're really excited to have you here join us today. It's a beautiful time to be pursuing agriculture, but it's also exciting to be doing artificial intelligence. And today we're going to be talking about uh, the role of artificial intelligence in controlled environment agriculture. So essentially, how do you turn agricultural data into insights that optimize yield, savings, and resilience? So let's begin. So to start, my name is King James Igbe. I'm a doctoral researcher at the University of New Hampshire. My department is civil and environmental engineering, and my focus here at UNH is the application of artificial intelligence for uh, urban environment management. And with me today is Marie Messi, who is also a doctoral researcher at the University of New Hampshire in the Department of Agricultural Sciences, and her focus is on controlled environment agriculture. She's going to be doing most of the speaking today because, of course, this is her bread and butter. Um, and I'm just going to chip in here and there with how AI fuses with um, controlled environment agriculture. I'm excited to do this webinar with her today. She's an amazing person and an expert, emerging expert in her field. So to start, we're going to talk about LabLinks, who is the sponsor of today's event. So LabLinks is an ecosystem for researchers. If you're attending this webinar, you're joining via LabLinks. The goal of LabLinks is to create this space where researchers can share knowledge easily and find research opportunities, connect, and collaborate. So if you are a researcher out there and you have something to share about your research focus or any new knowledge you've come about, and you want to share that via webinars, you can contact uh, LabLinks via contact@lablinks.com using the subject events, and someone will respond to you and help you organize your events, help you publicize it to get attendees. What this does for emerging researchers, especially doctoral scholars, is that they are able to share their knowledge beyond typical conferences, and they're able to make impact, use their work to show the impact of their research, and not just only in publication, but in kind of awareness, open discussion, those sort of stuff. So feel free, if you're a researcher here, to contact LabLinks. Next, I will talk about a little bit of what the profile in LabLinks look like. So this is my profile at LabLinks. So if you search me on LabLinks, you'll be able to see my bio there. Uh, so you can create this kind of profiles as well for free on LabLinks. You can join LabLinks events for free, and you can find opportunities where PIs are posting. So we have PIs on our platform that post opportunities. You can connect with them and all of that. Uh, Next, you can, peruse through the events page, which is what you're looking at today. A couple of weeks ago, we had two other events there, AI and civil engineering and minimizing burnout in grad school. We're working with others to kind of incentivize a lot of more events on LabLink so that people can share and collaborate.
Great. Thank you, James, for your great introduction. And going straight to what we're going to discuss today. So, our presentation is going to cover mainly what CEA is. It's going to give you the overview of what CEA is about and some of the typical systems, and also the role of AI in controlled environment agriculture. And to talk about AI, I know every one of you, or most of you, I believe 99% of us here, we use AI in our day life. And we mainly talk about AI. So those who don't know the abbreviation to it stands for artificial intelligence. And then controlled CA, it's controlled environment agriculture. And then we're going to see how these two can collaborate to give us the solutions to what we are doing today or to the problems that we are facing today as humankind. And without further ado, let's get into it. From what we are seeing on our screen, I would like to pose a question to you. How many times do you hear like similar news or information like these ones? I believe you might have heard about similar news or information more than once, several times. But most of the times it sounds to us like, oh, something that is happening somewhere on the field, it doesn't concern us or it's not affecting us yet. Every day we do need food on our table. That's why today is an opportunity for us to reflect on what's going on around us and how we can actually tap in to use the available solutions or technologies to be able to solve these problems. As individuals, there's one or two things you can do, though you don't own a farm, but also knowing this can really help you contribute to this small part of the food value chain so that we can create or build a sustainable food system for today and the future. So, going back to what we have today, this is like some of the weather extremes that we are facing today. As you can see, this picture clearly shows this huge loss of weight. And this is very recent. You can see it's this year May. This is a loss that happened here in the United States. And if you are in the place of a farmer, if you put yourself in the shoes, you can feel how sad it is. Going next, these are heavy rains that actually lead to flooding. And flooding is a very big problem that is threatening the agriculture production. As the temperatures are rising due to climate change, we also experiencing these high flooding risks and also other related and reliable weather conditions that are changing every day, which act as an alert for us to do something. Not only that, there's also increase of the pests and diseases, and this is one of the cases that happened in 2022, which is not also very far. So the viruses that lead to the high loss of letters that was born, and this is another reminder and an alert that something should be done, and it's us, you and I. And talking about all this going on, like climate change conditions and problems that are affecting agriculture, it's not only words, these are numbers. And they say that numbers never lie, numbers don't lie. According to United Nations and Food Agriculture Organization, they have reported that there is an expectation of global population increase by 2050, that the population will increase up to 9.4 billion. And that's not the limit. It might be above that. And we're here in 2030. So it's around like we're about to reach 2030. So it's not many years remaining for these changes to happen. It's very soon. That's what I wanted to mean. And there was raised a concern that we need to produce more food. This report was in 2011, where they say there's a need of 70% increase for food production that's already in place. And we are now 2026. Imagine how more food that we need to produce to secure food to feed the increasing population. Not only that, the land. the soil that is like the mother, the source of the food that we're eating is degrading, is being destroyed due to all of these changes that are happening, where the third of the arable land is expected to be destroyed by 2050. So what should we do? That's how controlled environment agriculture comes in. Controlled environment agriculture comes in as a resilient approach to help in adaptation of all these changes that are happening. Why? Because it helps us to keep producing even in the face of the adverse of these climate change effects. And you may ask yourself, how? These are some of the for CAS systems. As you can see, there is a protected structures. This means you can be able to produce your food in protected structures. And not only that, you're able to control some of the conditions. For instance, in greenhouses, you can set a system where you can regulate your temperatures, your pH, humidity, and everything so that you can have the precise output and you can avoid the effects from these outside or outdoor production conditions that are not reliable. Imagine if you have your farm and you're not able to produce in winter because there is extreme cold conditions, and then you have a market to supply to. If you're a farmer and you want to increase your market, you cannot say that you're going to produce seasonal. But with these protected structures, you're able to control your right, to control your temperatures so that in the adverse of those weather changes, you're able to continue producing year round. Not only that, controlled environment are brought as systems like vertical farming, where you can maximize space by growing your crops, as you can see, like in the vertical systems. This is saving space. You have multiple layers where you can produce more crops. And also, CEA is helping us a lot in resource use efficiency. This is one of the systems that is very increasing aquaponics. Aquaponics means you combine aquaculture and hydroponic system where the fish waste you see here and there is fish, there are fish, and then the waste from these fish are in this water solution, and then the nutrients, those waste will act as nutrients to the crops to grow. It means this cycle, this recycling is really helping to save the resources and also have like double win. You have double win. You have your fish, you also have your crops output. So let's look into how data comes in now, how AI can help us do effectively this controlled environment agriculture.
Yeah, thank you, Mary. That was wonderful. So as you can imagine, for a controlled environment agriculture, you have to instrument that protected facility, right? In a way, you are playing the role of nature. So you need to control almost every setting to the ideal environment that the particular crop or animal being farmed can optimally perform. And as you can imagine, you'd have to put a lot of sensors in there, from temperature control to the nutrients monitoring to water quality and all of those. And so if you've instrumented this place, you are collecting a ton of data. What are you supposed to do with that data? So let's move to the next slide. Collecting these amount of data, you would need to process them in some form, right? And this is where artificial intelligence models comes in. So you have this huge chunk of data that the human mind on its own cannot adequately process. But AI, with the compute power that we have today, we're able to ingest all this information and perform data transformations in several ways. So for someone who is an expert in controlled environment agriculture looking to integrate AI into his or her system, you would need to figure out what kind of AI models are important for me. And to answer that question, you need to ask, what kind of data am I bringing in, right? So once you collect that information, you build the model, you care about an output. What's those outputs? In this case, might be crop stress, might be your irrigation requirement, whatever you need to control to ensure that your crops perform optimally, that's your output. That's what you care about. So you have your data coming from your sensors, you have your model doing the thinking and processing, and you have your outcome, which you care about. At the end, in step four of this process, is you need to act. So action comes in two ways. It's either the farmer or the grower takes action by themselves based on the insight they've gotten from their model, or you can automate controls, allow the system to act on your behalf. So this is some sort of a loop where you observe information, you interpret, you predict, and you act. But that action can be by yourself or it can be by an autonomous system. And so essentially, if you want to summarize this, the core AI technologies used in control environment agriculture largely are in computer vision, which is using cameras to detect a lot of crop diseases and pests such as wilting or any of those. And then you have predictive analytics that tells you about crop stress, yield, irrigation needs, all of that. Then in the second half of it, you would need robotics because you want to be able to act. So now it's not just thinking, but they're giving the mind to a body, sort of. It's typically called embodied AI. So you've given your robot um, ability to act. So maybe you can harvest, you can do a lot of things, which we'll see examples down the line in this presentation. And then, of course, intelligent control, which kind of is a core of controlled environment agriculture, because maybe you don't want the temperature to be the same all year round. Maybe you want to cycle through various temperature, you want to control the nutrient, you want to control how much water gets in. So intelligent controls come here. So if you're thinking about controlled environment agriculture, these are the four areas that you would largely be operating in.
Thank you, James. To continue, let's look into what's out there. So we had about C and we had about, oh, this is how AI works and all that, but how can you really apply that in your research maybe, or if you want to own a company, a commercial company to produce food. And from the example here we have on the screen, this is my research that I did from my master's. So I was analyzing how the light can actually influence the precision farming. And through the information obtained, as you can see here, we have different lights. And this is specifically have to do with the light emitting diode. These are types of lights where you can precise the spectrum. Spectrum means with the visible spectrum that we use for growing crops, which imitate the sunlight, we can precise or selectively choose a specific spectrum from those colors. You know, we have red, blue, but red and blue are the ones that were found the most efficient for production. And here we were looking into how these are like affect the crop yield, the nutritional content of the crops, of the production. And this information is so important to be combined in the artificial intelligence for the future decisions. Let's say if a farmer wants to produce and increase yield, or the farmer will be able to know that, oh, I'm using this type of light to be able to increase the production. And imagine if you have this advanced or very precise system by using AI, by using these models. These will help you manage like a large scale. You can say, with my system, I'll be able to set the spectral composition that is gonna help me achieve specific outputs. And that's how you're gonna benefit from improving the quality of your crops. And also, at this level, you will be able to have the premium prices on the market because your food or your crops have the value added. And to continue, out there we have people or companies that have already this in place. This is one of the companies that has established, they are considered pioneers in establishing the smart greenhouse control with AI, and they are able to produce hydroponically cucumbers and eggplants efficiently by controlling temperature, humidity, and lighting. And this is not only controlling, we can use the good word optimizing. If you're optimizing, you're making the efficiency of your input so that you can get targeted output or you can get a good amount of output by optimizing how much you're putting in. And to continue, this is also another example. This product or a tool is called Luna AI by this company. It helped a lot with the pest and disease control. How? So by using the computer vision, this AI tool is able to scout like very precisely. Sometimes in the farming experience, you realize that something has affected your crops when you're late, and when you're going to take decisions or you're too late, you end up applying your pesticide, you end up taking this decision, and at the end of the day your crops are not at the level to be saved. So that's what AI is helping us to make decision based on the real-time data, and also it's helping us to be able to avoid these losses that we encounter when we don't really know that our crop production have a problem at the right time. So all this goes with taking decision, informed decision, and the right decision to help us really save the agriculture system. And as we said earlier, the numbers never lie. This shows the impact that has made with introducing AI in crop roots and environment data to determine the irrigation, like how much to apply and how much fertilizer to put in. And this study showed that through the precise irrigation by using AI, it led to the increase of 14% of the yield that was being produced in this company. And to continue with these advanced technologies, these are good news. I hope you're not getting tired of hearing about this. This is an automation where the greenhouse use robots for harvesting. This is another case where robots can precisely know, but based on this information that I received about the harvesting indices, I'm able to recognize which crops are ready to harvest. So imagine how much labor cost this can incur if you don't use this robot. So as a an advantage, if you have a large scale production, this is so helping. Why? What this robot can do in very short time, it can require many labors and also take more time. And we know time is money. So with robots, we can precisely do the harvesting and also save the labor cost. So let's look into also some of the wonders that are happening with this technology. And this is a video. I hope we're enjoying together. I'm excited and I'm enjoying to see all what's happening out there.
Westberg was started in 1990. It has 150 full-time employees. The greenhouse covers 140,000 square meters, and it grows snacking tomatoes. Now, growing fruit and vegetables in greenhouses are one of the most sustainable solutions to feeding the world's growing population, especially at a time when suitable farmland is becoming even more limited. By growing in the greenhouse, we can grow fresh, high-quality products in a high-efficient way. And in this controlled environment allows us to use a minimal amount of water, nutrients, and crop protection.
Labor these days is one of the biggest challenges of our horticulture industry. Cost of labor are already increasing for many years rapidly. It's coming to a point actually where also our partners not even have enough labor these days.
Our growers handled the installation of the robots, and within a week, the robots were harvesting tomatoes.
And 4Growers really brings on the table AI vision in combination with motion planning. That technology actually asks the FANUC robot to execute the right path to the right tomato to harvest it in an accurate way. FANUC has one of the fastest and most reliable arms out there. And when you take a look at speed and reliability, those are also key drivers for our robot harvesting solution. It came down to the payload, the speed, the reach, and also the compact footprint, and definitely also the ease of use.
Thanks to the robot fleets, day and night harvesting, we can complete the harvesting process with fewer people. And this allows us to perform other crop work to the next level and elevating our entire business operations. And we are looking forward to scale up with 4Growers and work with more robots.
Looking at the speed and the accuracy of our robot harvester, these days we are already reaching labor savings up to 50%. And that's actually just the beginning. We will keep on developing and pushing our technology to higher and better levels so that these labor savings will become more and more throughout the years. The feedback we received throughout the last years was always, mind-blowing. Everybody was enthusiastic when they saw our robot running, but there was always also some kind of hesitation based on the fact that we didn't have a fleet operational. Looking at where we are today, our first fleet operational deployed at Westberg Growers, it's a huge milestone for us. The fact that our clients are sure that they are having labor costs under control, that they are sure that their fruits are all harvested at the right ripeness level, it makes them future-proof, all in order to help our partners with making their companies more efficient. The 4Growers GR200 harvesting robot is at the moment capable of harvesting loose pick snacking tomatoes, grape tomatoes, and cherry tomatoes. The fantastic thing is that also upcoming year, we will also have the first cucumber roboting harvesting solution in the field. This milestone for 4Growers, having our first fleet operational, is the first one of many, many fleets to follow. So that means that a lot of partners will get their labor costs under control and will make them more future-proof. Being future-proof means that they are capable of producing also in the upcoming years affordable, sustainable, healthy, locally high-quality food for a growing global population.
Great. I think that's what we've been discussing about, and this shows that things are really existing out there. Trials are being made to keep improving the existing technologies, and it's good to now know that they're there, and it's good to know that how can we make use of them, and like how can we also be part of the change that we want to see to the existing problems. So I think the video just tackled about everything we discussed, and we have a few more videos that are going to show us some of the applications of these systems. And here we have a kind of similar thing, which is a dual robotic that shows how it can be applied in picking up the fruits, and also it's the same thing in saving labor and helping in improving the sustainability in food production. So this is like the big system. So you can see it looks like a car. So it's also a robot. This is very short. It's also a harvesting robot that also goes through the large farm. Imagine having thousands and thousands of acres and you want to harvest. This will help you pick up your crops like in a very short time, but also there's a system that can help you pack your things where ready to be distributed. This is like working, complementing each other. This is the system, robotic system that can help in packing stuff or produce. And this is precise, reduce the post-harvest losses and everything. So I hope we are enjoying how this system works. One last, we've been talking about data, but data only cannot do anything. We need the analysis part of it. And that's how also with all data collected and with this continuous testing of the system, it helps us also to be able to predict the output. And based on the numbers, like you can predict based on the previous or the history that you have about the information in your inputs, and you can predict with these inputs, I'll be able to get this output, this amount, these kgs of produce. So this is also the analytic part of it, which is very important. This is another 3D vision system that it shows how the robots can be able to recognize what to harvest. And talking about all these beautiful technologies, these good things, we also have a long journey to go. We still have a journey to go. But does that mean we have to stop? No, we don't have to stop, because if we don't make the change will affect us. That's why we need to see the available solutions and see how we can really help them being used to improve the conditions that we have today. But we cannot also ignore that there are barriers, and when we know where the problem is, that's how we get to resolve them. There is a high cost, I can say, the high upfront costs whenever these high technology systems are going to start. You have to use the high startup cost, and this can really also slow the returns. But trust me, if you're trying to use this technology with a large scale and also in the long run, you're gonna make your returns. But that doesn't mean that some of the parts of the agriculture system, for instance, smallholder farmers, it's so hard to adopt. And that's why we need the collaborative efforts from stakeholders, like from government. We can have these incentives that help encourage and help small farmers improve their farming systems to be able to adopt these technologies, because at the end of the day, they're going to need to adopt those to be able to improve also their production, because we don't need them to just remain there without updating their ongoing activities, yet they need to improve and make income or more money from what they do. And talking about the barriers, we still have fragmented systems. It requires a lot to put in, align the existing systems in AI, and also to be able to align that with the existing agriculture systems. That's why we have those trials that are being made in collaboration with the growers and these AI experts to be able to keep updating the systems to fit in the current system. There's also limited data. We need good data in AI to be able to make the good decisions or output. And also trust and transferability. Some of the models need to be updated based on the certain situations. That's why also there's a lot that need to be made with these models so that they can solve different problems. They can be generalized to be able to make it easy to adopt. And what can we take with us? We can take this information that there is a reliable production systems, and to make these systems work effectively, we need to know that we need to update ourselves. We can't keep relying on the manual capacity. You can collect billion data and work on them, analyze them, and get the output that would take forever. And that's why we have AI to close the gap. With all these different tools and different technologies, we can be able to explore them and see how they can really be applied to help growers and to help the overall food production systems to be sustainable so that we can secure the future of food systems, because food is life. Without food, tell me how can you survive? So let's work together. It's you and I. Thank you. So these are some of the resources that you can refer to. These are some of the companies or the applications that we talked about. You can always reach out to LabLinks to share with you the information, but I believe they're gonna also upload this on YouTube. And this is the flow to discuss any inputs, comments, suggestion. I believe we have very good experts here, and that's what we could also give. So it's time for discussion. I give it to James to continue. Thank you.
Yeah, so this is now an open floor. If you have comments, suggestions, ideas, something you missed, something you need clarification on, you can just raise your hand and share with us. We're learning just as much as we're willing to share our ideas. So if there's anyone attending that has an opinion, would like to hear that. So if you didn't join earlier, how you can do that is by raise of hand. So if you're using a computer, you can raise your hand, and then we'll be able to bring you up stage. I can see some comments. That's great. So if you want to speak, I can just you just raise your hand on your computer. We can see that and then bring you up stage. I can see Miriam here and some AI specialist. Thank you, Samuel.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, that's a very great presentation. So I wanted clarification on, so considering Africa, how we mostly do our farming system with this advanced integration, how are we going to integrate it into our practices over here?
That's a great question. Mercy?
Okay, thank you so much, Samuel, for raising that for real. That's why today if you can mute if I speak when you're unmuted, Samuel.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, and I was saying that's a great question. So the reason why we discussed all these great technologies that are being developed is to look into how we can actually adopt those in different countries or different parts of the world. We know that there are adoption or adaptation, it varies according to different parts of the world, according to the economy and all this. But that doesn't mean that it's impossible, because if every change that it is going to give you the benefit, or it's going to help you improve, it all requires sacrifice. It all requires an additional cost. As we talked about the barriers, there is still barrier in the startup cost or the investment, but that doesn't limit us to think beyond of how can we actually make what's needed to adopt those strategies, because we're not growing we're not growing on different soils, we're not growing in the space. So the technologies that are being adopted here can also be adopted in Africa. So if there is an issue of where we have to go in terms of getting an investment, in terms of raising awareness to those growers, that's the steps that we need to take as people in this field so that we can be able to see the change. I think that's the key part that we need to work on.
Yeah, and I'll just add to that. Um, before I share my opinion, you are a researcher as well, getting into the field of AI as well, right, Samuel?
Yes, I'm interested in AI.
Yeah. So one of the things I think we can do and is trying to come up with low cost artificial intelligence systems. The A lot of researchers and a lot of companies in Asia, particularly in China, are doing that these days. So the AI systems being developed mostly in the West are heavy and expensive, but the Asians, particularly the Chinese, are coming up with low cost artificial intelligence systems. So low cost training, low cost models, low cost chips. If we want this adoption, we need to be able, from a technology perspective, we need to be able to make our systems slightly cheaper, because farmers in across Africa, or mostly sub-Saharan Africa, might not have the purchasing power that farmers in the West have. So from a technology and engineering perspective, if we can develop low cost AI tools for the farmers, that would increase adoption for this, because we know farmers in Africa have this problem. One of the biggest effects of climate change, the effect of droughts, will be in sub-Saharan Africa and along the Sahara Belt. So the problems are real. The solutions, which I believe is your question, is going to come from two ways. One part is what Messi has talked about, from government incentives and all of that, but the other part is the minds, the new innovation that we bring from the technology side of things. So I think low cost AI would be a potential solution. And that has its own bottlenecks. Like, how do you get images to train your model? How do you get data? Those are things you need to dig into as a researcher. Maybe that involves collaboration with others. Maybe it involves some techniques, maybe like transfer learning. So you take a model that has been developed here and apply it in different scenario. So there are a lot of things that may come, but it requires both sides. It requires technological innovation, especially for African innovators and African scientists, but it also involves working with the government. Um, but I also believe that we are already applying greenhouses to a certain scale across Africa. like aquaponics and all of this. There are some places they are already doing that across Africa, but it's not at the scale at which it's going to make, the kind of impact we're talking about. So your question is real, your question is important, but the solution is multifaceted. We need to do it from the technology side, but the government also needs to incentivize from that side. So we need to kind of work both ways.
All right. Thank you for your answers. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for your question as well. Any more question from Miriam, from Fatma, or Clarice? Awesome. So if there's, okay, great. One more.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, yes, we can.
Mhm. So I just have one question. Like you said that we're gonna have, like, if we have more data about some kind of problem, then only then we can have transferable model and we can make good predictions. But in my opinion, like, is it like easier to get that much quantity of data to train a machine learning model from agriculture? Because I feel like experimentation is always difficult to collect data. So, or maybe is there some kind of satellite imageries like that are helpful for training models so that we can have data at larger scale?
That's a very good point. Probably, yeah, satellite image is a good source because the high fidelity images
Okay.
you're talking about, for example, computer vision, like um, how do you get those high quality images at the resolution that you want? That stuff. And the people that have it, I don't know if they are willing to share, right? So the innovation here requires a lot of thinking. Um, it maybe it's a hybrid. I don't know what the solution is, but maybe it's a hybrid of uh, again, it depends on the problem you're trying to solve, right? Is it large scale or is it small scale? For controlled environment agriculture, you're looking at small scale resolution stuff because you want to be able to pick up very small changes in the performance of crops and whatever you're growing. So maybe those images involve some sort of pre-training, like models that might have been trained on, let's say, identifying vehicles or some other application. But you also need to generate some sort of images to help you transfer that information to the particular crops that you care about. I don't have a solution for how you're going to get those images, but that's necessary. Even if you start with a satellite image, it only takes you so far just because of the resolution and the difference in what you're trying to capture. Um, but you'd have to get those images somehow, either by working with farmers over a long term, and maybe it's first just putting cameras to capture crop performance over seasons, and then maybe you still need some investment in labeling those data, working with, for example, scientists who know what they're doing and telling you these are the signs of, a wilting plant or a crop that is performing optimally. So you need to label those data somehow, and then even if that data is limited, but because of pre-training now, you can apply that limited information. But again, you will definitely need some sort of investment to get high quality images. It is tough, but the benefit of this is if you build the model, like the example of the companies that were shown here, when they've built the model, that's it, right? And you have that initial working model, they can only improve because now they are collecting more data from their cameras. Every growing season, every farmer they work with, they're collecting more data. They go back, use that data to improve their model and come back again with a higher version. So you just need that first step of getting into the market. And for farmers in developing nations, they are not using these advanced models. So if there is a company who comes up with scalable low cost models that can assist farmers, they'll definitely buy.
Good. Thank
Okay,
you.
if I thank you, Fatima. Thank you, KJ. If I you can add on that, so it's like very clear that to be able to use these AI tools, like we have AI experts, but there will be in need of partnership or collaboration with what's really going on the field or at the growers farms. So that's why we need all this key information from different seasons or from a long time to be able to make the very good models based on data that I can say that it's a very good data from a long time that we experience the changes, and then this model will based on these recurring conditions and associated output to be able to use these models to make decisions. So there's always the two parts, and you can not only rely on the satellites or other images. I think the best data to use is from the farm, what's happening really there. Yeah.
Thank you very much all for attending. We appreciate your time and your questions and your contributions. It was amazing. Um, we hope to have more of this series in the future, and we'll keep you informed when there's a second follow-up series to this. We'll email you and let you know. If you're on Lab Links, you can check periodically on the events page. We have an event at least once every week, so we're gonna have one as well sometime next week. So keep an eye out for that. But again, thank you very much for your time and for your questions. They have been really helpful. That brings us to the end of today's webinar. See you next time.